Hey gaming fans! So today I'm just doing a deck play testing my empty jar deck. I did a profile on this deck a couple of videos ago, I think, and you know, I've just been playing around with it, trying to decide what cards to take out, and you know, I think I figured out a few cards I want to remove, but I'm going to play it exactly how it was in the deck profile. So if you want to go back to that video and see the full deck, you can do that. So I just decided I wanted to do a couple of play testing hands and kind of show how this deck could work. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure we shuffle in that Morphing Jar nicely, because that is your key card. You're always wanting to get the Morphing Jar. So I'm just going to do a good, few good shuffles. This is a cheap deck. There's like nothing in here that's really worth money, so I don't mind shuffling it like this. They're pretty much all commons and maybe a few rares. So it's nothing really spectacular in here. But anyways, yeah, so we're just going to do a few play test hands and see how the deck kind of functions. You know, when you play this way, you never know what your opponent is playing, so it's a little bit tricky to kind of judge how your opponent's moves would work. So we'll kind of just take it by ear. So we'll just draw our first hand. All right, so we got a Book of Eclipse, which is good. Hand Destruction, Morphing Jar number 2, Threatening Roar, and Needleworm. Okay, you can, if it's turn 1, you can kind of set the Morphing Jar and hope your opponent runs into it with a whole bunch of cards they set up and they don't have any monster negation, but we can't really stop that if they do. So let's just start off with a Hand Destruction. We'll throw away the, let's just throw away the Book of Eclipse and maybe the Needleworm, and then we'll draw 2 cards. Okay, so now we have an option here. We got 1 day of peace, so we'll know our next turn we're safe. So we'll probably activate that and draw a card. And perfect, we got the Spirit of the Fall Wind. This is what we need. So we're going to summon that, and bearing your opponent doesn't have a hand trap to stop it. I mean, if they do, they do, and you're probably in big trouble at that point, because you're not going to get your search and you're not going to get your main play off. So we'll just assume they don't. I mean, you could keep going and hope that you could recover from it, but you know, it's one of those decks where you kind of do need your monster effect to get off. Probably want to up those cards that'll stop hand traps, like Called by the Grave if you have them. So then, so now we have an option. So basically we've already used our summon, but we have played 1 day of peace. So during your opponent's turn, they could attack this, I guess, if they want, just to get rid of your monster. So let's just assume they pull out a huge board and attack your Spirit of the Fall Wind. And on your next turn, we're gonna draw. So we got Hero Shadow Scout. I'm probably gonna take that card out. I don't know if I like it too much. I don't see too many times where I'm actually going to use it. So we're going to set our Morphing Jar and then activate Card Destruction. Let's get rid of 3 cards. Then of course, depending on whatever your opponent's playing, we're going to look for something that can... Okay, so we didn't draw anything that could flip up the Morphing Jar this turn, because we don't have an AD changer. That's fine. But we do have Shallow Grave, which means if your opponent attacks it, we can bring it back next turn. So we'll probably set the Recall, which will negate a monster effect on your opponent's side of the field, and the Shallow Grave. And on their turn, hopefully they attack it. If they attack it, you get your flip off. So we'll go 3, 4, 5. Then your opponent's going to play whatever they want at this point. Nothing you could do. So if they OTK you, you're kind of dead. But other than that, then you draw your hand. So this is kind of neat. I mean, you got your Threatening Roar. We got Recall side effects. So at this point, you would have to play your Shallow Grave to bring back your Morphing Jar. And then we would probably do, I don't know, we got Threatening Roar, so we'll probably set Threatening Roar just in case for next turn. And then we'll play our, well, Might as well do hand destruction. And discard these two, because we're going to use Book of Taiyu. Alright, so that's what we wanted to see, AD Changer. So we're going to activate Book of Taiyu and flip over your Morphing Jar. And discard your hand and draw 5 more cards. 3, 4, 5. That's perfect because we got another AD Changer. So at this point, what do we got face down? We got a Recall face down, help us against monsters. We got a Shallow Grave face down. Did we use that Shallow Grave? Can't remember now. Okay, so at this point, I would probably activate Book of Moon to flip down your Morphing Jar. That goes to the graveyard. I don't really care about this hand, so I'm going to play Book of Taiyu again and flip over that Morphing Jar. We'll discard our hand again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can see our deck's getting thin. Present card is a good one, so we'll probably set that to use against your opponent to make them draw 5 more cards. Let's see. Well, I guess we're going to have to use a Book of Moon. So, oops. So we'll 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll Book of Moon. Doesn't matter. We're going to be discarding it anyways. And then we're going to, I think we, use our Book of Taiyu that was in our hand, of course, to flip it back up. Draw another 5. 3, 4, 5. And we got present cards up the wazoo. So I think that would be it. We'd have present card ready. We are threatening roar, so they can't attack next turn. Then you'd present card them, survive the next turn. Even if they destroy that, you're going to draw. And you got more present cards. And yeah, I think you would pretty much win at that point, because their deck would probably be very thin, especially after you've activated present card a few times. And if you had to, I mean, you can't bring back your Morphing Jar at this point because you deck yourself out, but you could bring back your Needleworm and then activate that effect. So, I mean, that's pretty much how the deck is supposed to run. Of course, there's a caveat there. I mean, if your opponent's playing a ton of hand traps, there's a good chance they're going to negate something. Keep in mind, though, Effect Failure isn't always going to work for them because you might be able to chain Book of Moon so that your Morphing Jar will go face down before the Effect Failure does anything to it. But there could be other hand traps and stuff like that. But yeah, that's pretty much how this deck works. Of course, it's all based on getting this Morphing Jar out and making sure he pulls his effect off several times in the same duel. And then, of course, you got your present cards and your Needleworms for backup. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove some stuff from here. I'm probably going to remove the Hero Shadow Scout or Hyrule Shadow Scout, however you want to say it. Maybe add in a Upstart Goblin and perhaps another hand destruction, because I think I'm only playing 2. I can't remember now. Anyways, let's hope you like the draws that I was doing, and you know, I like to do that every once in a while, just play around with the deck and just see how I can change it and add new cards to it and make the deck run a little bit smoother. So hope you like this. Let me know down in the comments below what you would take out or change if you've tried this deck before, and especially against, you know, opponents playing in you know, meta decks and all that. It's always nice to see. Anyways, hope you like the deck. Hope you subscribe. Talk to you later.